Yeah, look, I know the guy has been looking for me all over the convention. I know Ella McCullough, it's been a year. I understand that. That's him, probably. I'm gonna have to call you back. What's
It's been over a year, Toon. What's keeping you?
Shadow, you have to understand, I'm a super busy guy. I've had a lot on my plate this past year.
A year?
It's been a long year, you know? I've had a whole arc to go through with cartoons and, you know, I had to redesign my OC and all this stuff happened. You have probably no idea what any of that is.
Oh, don't worry, my friend. I have got the perfect solution to ensure that you are not busy.
Okay, well, this ought to be good. Well, you have to understand, I have a thing I need to get to like in 30 minutes, so please, enlighten me.
Don't you worry.
That's better.
What did you do to me? Change me back right now.
You owe me a collab, mister.
Oh yeah, that's a thing still. Alright, on one condition. Anything can happen here, right?
Yes?
Give me a second then. Oh, come on! That wasn't even 15 seconds!
So, the great and powerful Trixie. What's there to say about her? For me, she's pretty much the perfect example of a redeemed character. I can say that I like her on much the same regard as, say, Sunset Shimmer. Both characters started out with barely any development, but at the end of their respective arcs, they actually managed to gain somewhat of a following.
I think somewhat is an understatement. Trixie became a fan favorite, at least in my eyes, due to her presence and charisma. Though she was portrayed as an arrogant showmare, there was just something about her that kept people coming back, and soon after this episode, fan art and fanfics exploded focusing on her past, and people began to suspect that maybe there's more to her character. Maybe there's more of a reason why she is this way, and why she has this gigantic chip on her shoulder. In a weird way, I can relate to this, so maybe there's a secret to this character and why so many people like her.
Such as me. But really, I think the biggest reason that I consider her one of my favorites, out of the entire cast of Friendship is Magic, is because of how I view her character. You see, I've always viewed Trixie as one of those characters that was simply misled and misunderstood, where the only thing she really needed was a friend. And the only reason she put on as big of an act as she did in both Ghostbusters and Magic Duel were because she was seeking attention and validation, as cliche as that may sound. I mean, hell, she even came right out and said it in No Second Prances that she was jealous of Twilight's magical prowess and that she wanted to be able to beat her at something.
Jealousy has an interesting way of making bigger events happen in the future. While I'm not the biggest fan of how things went about in Ghostbusters, Trixie actually proved a point. Dare I quote a Kanye West song, "No one should have all that power." When I look at Trixie, I see a crazed egomaniac with delusions of power far beyond their control leading up to their eventual demise.
You mean, cartoons?
Well, yes, actually. Sometimes you need a good reality check to put you back on track, and you don't need to be afraid to show off. I've always believed in the somewhat controversial opinion that it isn't showing off unless you can back it up. It works in different cases, but Trixie needed to learn to not be such a dick about it.
While I can agree that she was incredibly full of herself in Ghostbusters, and Magic Duel brought out the worst in her, I'll again stand by my argument that it was merely her jealousy of Princess Twilight's accomplishments that drove her to be the bad girl in this case.
I think it was maybe a little bit more than that. I don't think she realized how much power such a legendary artifact could give. I mean, that's like bringing a flamethrower to get rid of one insect. It's overkill. This to me showed that jealousy can blind you, and a bad power trip can lead you down a road you may not be able to come back to. However, if you look closer at Trixie and her motives, things start to slowly put themselves together.
Jealousy towards one individual can bring out the absolute worst in people. Or ponies in this case. Again, I'm going to go back to No Second Prances, specifically the scene where Twilight confronts Trixie before her big magic show. It's here that she reveals that the only reason she befriended Starlight Glimmer prior to this point was just to get back at Twilight, to show that she could actually do something better to her without even thinking how Starlight really felt. That was actually a dick move.
Hey, do you hear something?
Huh?
Guess it was nothing. This was a big thing that bothered me too. When I look at this incredibly petty game that finally culminated here, this is a rare thing we see with villains, not that I consider Trixie a villain anymore. When a villain finally wins and achieves their goal, something they've been wanting since they've been ashamed or humiliated or felt like they had lost everything, and it turns out to be an empty, hollow victory. How does that feel? Knowing you spent all this time and obsessed over this one point. It shows to me that revenge is not everything. That's a lesson a lot of people need to learn.
Indeed, it is. I can't be the only one to agree that Trixie took her long-standing grudge against Twilight too far in misleading Starlight that they were friends. Granted, Twilight's partially to blame for this since I was almost certain that she accepted Trixie's apology at the end of Magic Duel, but then she very clearly made her distrust in letting Starlight go with Trixie known and no second prances, and I question if she even believed Trixie's words in the first place. But that's not really an excuse to exert the same principles upon your own student. While your opinion on someone may be unchanged, that doesn't mean you have to enforce it upon someone else.
I think this is where Trixie actually starts to shine, when she has someone she can bounce off of that is actually her friend and wanting her to be her friend, not knowing of the past that Trixie has had. It feels a little bit like Trixie has been wanting something that no matter how hard she's tried, it has seemed to escape her. Validation. She wants to feel like she matters. She's a showmare, and her job, her life practically, is the stage. Without it, she feels like nothing. But when Starlight looks at her and sees someone she can trust and rely on, it makes their bond stronger, especially in the Season 6 finale. They work well as a team, they have great chemistry, and in the process, it makes Trixie more likable. But then again, I guess Trixie's been likable from the start. From a certain point of view.
Well, of course Trixie and Starlight would get along on that regard. Let's not forget, Starlight has had her own sketchy past as well, what with the events of the cutie map and the cutie remark. Boy, all that bloody unicorn's eyes and motor oil.
What was that?
Nothing! Back on point. Starlight has had as much of a grudge against Twilight as Trixie did, if Season 5 is any evidence of this. The only difference being, Trixie didn't lie to an entire culture of ponies and enforce her vision of friendship upon them, then proceed to deny any of her wrongdoing, get away scot-free, then return even more determined to eclipse Twilight that she attempted to rewrite the very history of Equestria over one petty, stupid grudge.
Dude, do not even get me started. The law system in this world makes no sense. You could be like, hey Celestia, a unicorn got their hooves on an overpowered amulet, or hey Celestia, a unicorn has gone rogue with an overpowered time spell and is rewriting time because of a petty grudge, or, you know, you get the idea. It's always up to the main six to do everything, and this is why Celestia will probably never get an episode.
I can practically see the dislike bar gaining an inch or two off that comment alone. I thought we were looking to avoid pissing the bronies off, no?
Dude, have you seen me? The fact I'm red and black alone just gives me a huge bullseye on my top hat. See what I mean?
Implying I'm not subject to that either. I think you get my point. Much like Starlight before, I actually hated Trixie from the start. Oh my god! Yeah, big shocker. Ugh. But hear me out, it's for more of a different reason than I did with Starlight. The first time I ever watched Ghostbusters, I was off-put by Trixie. Mostly because she came off as nothing more than a whiny, gloating, showboating unicorn to me. I wanted nothing more than for Twilight to just show her that there's more to magic than just talking with your mouth instead of your mind by the end of it all. Of course, I got my wish at the end of the episode, but Trixie still ran off like a coward. Then when I saw her return in Magic Duel, I was even more beset by how she was portrayed. Just another of those characters that goes to great lengths to outdo the person of their affliction. It's a personal bias of mine and sad to admit. But then, when Trixie finally got what was coming to her and apologized to Twilight, I don't know, something just kind of changed.
What finally won me over with Trixie, I guess, is that I finally looked at her from a different perspective, and in the process, made me understand her motives. I hated her from the start, and I considered her overrated for quite a while, but I warmed up to her when I started looking at how vulnerable she was as a character, and that her ego itself was a means to justify herself. Heck, she was ready to end it at no second chances, but I think all she needed was someone in her life to matter and see her worth. Some people with high egos seek validation more than anything, but what I see in Trixie is someone who does not want to be left out and someone who strives to be the best at what they do, no matter what. That I can respect, and I expect to see more of her in this new light in Season 7. It's too good to pass up now.
I think what finally secured Trixie up into my personal spot of Best Pony was her depiction and performance in To Where and Back Again. Yes, she still does hint at a slight one-up over Twilight, but her chemistry with Starlight is what made the whole finale for me. She showed that she was more than just any old showmare, and that she really could put what she cared for first in front of her ego. I mean, for God's sake, she used her own magic tricks, previously bashed upon by Discord, to throw off a horde of changelings, and she even sacrificed herself just to ensure Starlight could escape. It's like what you said before, Trixie's character is at its strongest when she has an actual friend by her side, and here, she wanted to show that she was more than just, what was it Discord said to her?
A self-absorbed, below-average illusionist.
Right, what he said. But following up on your statement, I too would love to see more of this side of Trixie in Season 7, and I'll be sorely disappointed if they don't follow up on it. Trixie was just at her best in Season 6, and this is really saying a lot when you look at how she was in the past.
But you know, in the end, I can rest knowing that I have the best hat and that Trixie's is way too loud. What?
Seriously? You want to talk hats? At least mine is fashionable.
Really? Really? Well, you know, up close, you have got to be the loudest black and red OC I've ever seen.
Well, you're the worst red and black OC I've ever seen.
Dude, your mark is the freaking Shadow the Hedgehog logo.
Dude, you are like an edgelord's wet dream with a steampunk goatee thing going on.
But where did you graduate from, deviantart? Yeah, there's only room in this fandom for one red and black OC, and it's gonna be me.
Incoming!
Feisty. It's you.
Mega dumbass! Oh, hey! You suck.